Update. During Thanksgiving, I, 25 male, realized that 3 years ago I had slept with my girlfriend's married cousin, 29 female. Now I need to know who to talk to first. Original post. I met my girlfriend Jessie, 25 female, 3 years ago while we were both in college. I had just gotten out of rehab for a very serious addiction. She helped me stay clear of any substances and has been the reason why I am alive today. I truly feel that I owe her my life. This year we spent Thanksgiving at her grandparents' house along with her family. When we arrived, I met some of her cousins and who once seemed familiar. This was Samantha, who I thought I knew from around campus when she attended the same college as Jessie and I. She had moved out of state 5 years ago to live with her husband and was back for Thanksgiving now with her 2 kids. After the dinner, all of the younger cousins went outside to talk. It was myself, Jessie, Sam, her husband Ricky, and 2 more of their cousins. We all started to talk about music and the theme of music festivals came up. I talked about a music festival that I have been attending for the past 6 years. Sam and Ricky also went to that festival 4 years ago, and Sam went with her friends the next year. It wasn't until they showed me pictures of when Sam went that I remembered where I knew her from. During the year that Sam went with her friends, I happened to run into her with some friends. I had shoulder-length hair, was pale, and probably weighed 150 pounds while being 6'2". I now have short hair, tanner skin, with tattoos and with about 50 pounds of muscle. I am unrecognizable now. A lot of my memories from those years are pretty bad, but what I do remember is that when we met up with her group of friends, we all got really friendly. It was 3 girls and 4 of us. We had rented a suite for the weekend and decided to invite the girls over. Due to a mixture of coke, alcohol, and MDMA, I can't remember who had slept with who. But I think that I might have hooked up with Sam, and another one of my friends joined us, or I joined him. All I know is that myself and another guy did it with Sam one night, and my friends did it with her the next night. The worst part is that during those days I never wore protection, and I am sure that neither did my friend. I don't know if we finished inside her or not, but the possibility exists. Sam and her husband have been married for 5 years, and have a 2-year-old and a newborn. I am definitely going to inform Ricky about what happened, but my only concern is what will happen with Jessie. I can't bear the possibility of losing her. She has been what has kept me sober throughout all these years. She has been the angel on my shoulder that has kept me out of trouble. Sam still has the same tattoo on her shoulder, so I am 100% sure that it was her. In one of her pictures from the festival, I am in the background with my back to the camera talking to my friends. I pretty much have no evidence to support my claims, and if I confront Sam alone, she will just deny it. I'm sure she doesn't even recognize me. What do I do? Who do I talk to? Should I even bother? Now for the top advice before reading the update. I would talk to your girlfriend before anyone else. Yes, I'll talk to her today and ask what she wants to do. Stay out of it. This isn't your confession, it's Samantha's. If I'm reading the dates right, you didn't do anything you need to apologize to your girlfriend about, and you're possibly going to wreck the lives of 3 people if you blab. That would probably feel like trash if I just stayed quiet. Wouldn't you want to know if your wife hooked up with 2 random guys and let them finish inside her while you thought she was out with her friends? She put her husband at risk of any STDs. Thankfully, I'm clean and had already finished before my friend went in, but I don't know if he was clean. I admit that I hate the stay out of it comments whenever I see them. Telling someone is the right thing to do. Honestly, while I'm normally one for calling out cheaters, this could ruin your own life. Heck, the older kid could even be yours. And given the time that has passed, I would be tempted to let sleeping dogs lie. That said, the right thing to do is to come completely clean to your girlfriend and discuss with her the best course of action. And probably downplay the MFM part and just confirm you had slept with Sam. I have dark brown eyes and hair, and my friend was black. The kid is super blonde with green eye like her dad. This is kinda hard to say what to do. You really have no idea what kind of relationship they have. Some couples enjoy this kind of thing. Clearly it isn't your cup of tea. I'd mind your own business on this one. If it's their cup of tea, then her husband won't mind being told. If it isn't, then he should eventually be glad to know the truth. The kind of people that tend to advise mind your own business are typically the kind that are apprehensive of the outcome for the wrong reasons, fear/selfishness. And now for the update. Although I only got a few responses, I was surprised at the fact that 50% of the commenters said to just keep it a secret. Personally, I kind of have morals, so I decided that I was going to tell Jesse, then tell Rick. I had someone say that the times aligned with the chance that the oldest child could be mine, since my friend and I didn't use protection when we did it with Sam. But genetically, the baby doesn't look like me, and my friend is black. During early December, I got in contact with said friend and explained the situation. I asked him about that night. He wasn't able to remember much, but does remember that we didn't use rubbers with Sam and that we both finished inside her. I was still thinking on how to approach Jesse about this, when later that night Joe called me back telling me that he had some pictures from the festival weekend. There were 2 pictures where you could see both Sam and I. One was me in the suite's bathroom wiping blood from my nose, and Sam was behind standing near me. The second picture was Sam sitting on the lap of the third guy she slept with on the second day. There were a few more pictures of Sam and her friends. I got everything I had and called Jessie over the next day. I sat her down and told her everything as best as I could remember. She was devastated when I showed her the pictures. She was angry at me, but decided that she just needed some time to think. I gave her some time and explained to her that I wanted to be honest as possible with her. I told her that I am forever thankful for her help during my rehab and recovery. That I wanted to tell her about this because I see a future with her, and I could not hide something like this from her. I couldn't risk it coming out in the open later when we are more committed. I informed her that I was planning on telling Rick, but she was adamant about keeping that a secret. I asked her that if she was in his shoes, how would she feel? She agreed, but said to give her some space to think. We didn't talk much for a week, and on Christmas we met up with her family. Sam and Rick attended Christmas with Rick's family, so they could not attend. Sam and Rick came back for New Year's, and that is when I decided to confront them. Jessie and I had a long talk about how I would do this. She wanted to do it anonymously, but I told her that it wouldn't work. I told her that I would invite Rick to a bar on Sunday to watch some football. That Sunday, Rick and I went to the bar, and I waited until the end of the game to talk about it. I asked him if we could go to my apartment to talk about something serious. He had a weird look in his face, but agreed. When we arrived at my place, I told him about my past. I then told him everything about the encounter I had with Sam. I showed him the pictures and gave him all of the information I had. Rick's face went pale when I told him that both my friend and I finished inside her. I could see his hands shaking. He asked how many other people did she sleep with, and I told him that as far as I knew, there were only myself and the other 2. I asked him if she was on birth control at the time, because if not, there might be a possibility that she might have gotten pregnant that week. He couldn't remember if she was at the time, but a few weeks later she was pregnant. That is when he said he had enough and just got up and left. 5 minutes later, he texted me asking for the pictures. I sent them to him and told him that out of respect I had to tell him, and that he needed to know about the health risk that Sam had put him in. Now, Sam and the kids were staying at Jesse's apartment. Jesse told me that when Rick arrived, he just told Sam to pack their things and that they were leaving. Sam didn't want to leave and asked why he was angry, but Rick just said they would talk when they got home. Sam was not having any of it and demanded to know why. They began to argue, and Jesse took the kids into their bedroom. A couple minutes later, Sam and Rick came into Jesse's bedroom for the kids, and they told her that they were leaving. Sam was crying and Rick was very upset. Jesse asked what was happening. Rick told Sam to put their stuff in the car while he explained. Rick went over the whole situation, and Jesse corroborated the story he had told her. A few days later, Rick called me to talk about everything. He had been in a rut and moved into an apartment while he set up an appointment with a lawyer. After getting home from the trip, Rick grilled into Sam about everything that happened. She started to confess, but only little by little. She had apparently had another affair a year ago while on a trip with some friends. Rick had sent for a paternity test for his oldest kid, but after a few days he sent another for his youngest. A week ago, he posted on Facebook that he and Sam were getting a divorce, and that he is not the father of the youngest kid. Jesse's grandma really dislikes me now for ruining Sam's marriage, since she's old-school Catholic and doesn't believe in divorce. Jesse and I have been working on ourselves and have been going to couples counseling to deal with this. It has been a bit rough over the past 2 months, but I feel good about my actions and I hope Jesse can understand. You did good, man. Real proud of you. Not many would have the guts to do the right thing. And as far as Jesse's grandma's concerned, if she acts up, ask her next time if she believes in vows of fidelity. I think this should be the sub's new response to this kind of blanket religious statement people make about not believing in divorce. I'm religious myself, but there's a limit to everything naturally, and I most certainly wouldn't tell anyone to stay married if they want a divorce, whatever their reason may be. I'm just sick of people playing up the religious angle when talking about preserving marriages, while they're all too keen on ignoring the vows exchanged when said marriage was literally just starting. Or how they eagerly jump to overlook the vow about fidelity, respect, and so on, while trying to force the innocent party to stay in marriage due to the in sickness and in health, or for better for worse part of the vows. Sam ruined her own marriage. All you did was be honest. Grandma needs a reality check, and also to read her Bible more carefully because adultery is explicitly named as grounds for divorce in there. I will never understand that thought process. Don't blame the person who broke the vow of fidelity. Don't even blame the spouse that is seeking the divorce. I'll blame the one person in this situation that you could argue has any integrity. If only they were a liar as well, none of this would have happened. He is not the father of the youngest kid. Oh man, that hits like a ton of cheating bricks. I feel for Rick. Sam has ruined a bunch of lives. Yeah, that was what got to me the most. The time that I had spent with Rick showed me that he is such a nice guy. He truly didn't deserve any of this. Now for the last story. My wife got violated by a family friend and now Christmas is a mess. I'll try to keep this as brief as possible. My wife is one of 3 sisters. One of her sisters has some friends who are essentially part of our family. They are at every birthday, holiday, etc. My wife and her sisters have known them for years, and there has never been an issue like this come up. I'll refer to these people as Jane and John. Me, my wife, her sister and husband, and Jane and John were all out one night drinking at a bar several months ago. We all had a decent time, and were packing into the car to head home for the night, but decided we'd continue drinking at Jane's house. Shortly after arriving there, I could tell my wife wasn't feeling well, and I suggested we went home. Once home, I realized it wasn't that she wasn't feeling well, but rather that she was very disturbed and upset by something. It took a while for her to open up to me, but once she did, she proceeded to tell me what had happened earlier. When we all loaded into the car to leave the bar, she had been sitting in the back seat next to John. I was in the front, so had no idea any of this had happened until she told me. At some point during the ride, John had aggressively slipped his hand under her dress, attempting to feel between her legs. She swatted his hand away, but he persisted, until at some point he gave up. My wife was in utter shock, and froze up when this was happening. Combined with the loud music and various conversations that were going on, none of the 4 other people in the car had any idea this was going on, including John's wife who was in the front seat next to me. When my wife had relayed the entire story to me, I was furious, hurt, and confused all at the same time. I was mostly hurting for her as this individual was almost like a brother to her, and I just didn't know what I could do to make it better. Of course, I wanted to defend her honor, but we have 2 young kids, and I cannot go out for vengeance. I have a family to take care of. I just didn't know how to help her other than listen and be there for her. My wife mentioned that she had told her sister and Jane what had happened once we arrived at Jane's house, so at this point, everyone that had been present that night now knew what had happened. The next day, my wife got a call from John who gave some half-baked apology claiming he was drunk and didn't remember doing anything. Then the story changed to he was looking for his seatbelt or something. We instantly cut contact with John and Jane, but here's the crux of the issue. Jane is the best friend of my wife's sister who was present that night, and they were very much have continued their relationship as if nothing had happened. Jane and John are still invited to pretty much every family event, holiday, etc. And with that being the case, my wife is essentially by default excluded now. My wife and me and our kids will not attend anything where John is present. My wife has expressed to her sister how hurtful it is that she continues to have these people around after what has happened. But it's become evident that the sister values her relationship with these people more highly than with her sister. This whole thing opened up again just this past week, when my wife and sister were planning out how we were going to handle the holidays, as this will be the first holiday season since this happened. The plan was that my sister-in-law would have Thanksgiving with her own family and include John and Jane, and several other of their friends, while my wife and I would host her other sister and her family, my mother-in-law and several other family members. Then we came to find out that her sister had invited literally the whole family to her home for Thanksgiving, and not inviting us, obviously knowing that we wouldn't come because John would be there. My wife was furious when this happened, and then decided to tell the rest of her family what happened that night, and why we haven't been around for anything lately. Now that everyone knows, and John and Jane know that everyone knows, crap has hit the fan. My sister-in-law has been on a campaign to discredit and bash my wife, telling everyone that's recently found out that it's a lie, that my wife was asking for it, etc. She has said some truly callous and disgusting things about my wife, and even made implications that I was planning on retaliating against John violently. My wife and I have been at a complete and total loss as to why her sister is acting like this. My wife has now blocked her sister and her family, and any holiday plans we had are now screwed. I am so disappointed with my sister-in-law's behavior. I'm not sure what I can do at this point without making the situation worse. This is pretty screwed up, and I'm sure there's ways I could have helped more, but any advice is appreciated. Now for the advice. Oh, John remembers. The fact he called shows he's in damage control and tried to blame being drunk, which is not an excuse. It goes to show where their allegiances are when John decided to do that to your wife. Your sister-in-law doesn't hold John accountable for his actions and decides to say your wife was asking for it? I would be completely disgusted with her. To add to this, the rest of the family has shown their true colors. As hard as it may be for you and your wife especially, it's better that this is out in the open. If what I am interpreting is correct, they're all kind of screwed for enabling John and siding with him over blood family. Is that a family that you want your kids around? You want your wife exposed to that BS? I know that families do a lot of weird, unexplainable things, but this is over the top bad, and something that you both should take as then revealing who they really are and what is actually important to them. I hope Opie's side of the family isn't as weird in the head. Make your own traditions. Your sister-in-law sounds toxic, and everyone else that supports this kind of behavior is also toxic. Do something to make this year special without them. You can't change them, but you can move on. Organize your own event and invite the people who still are on your side. If they come or not is okay. Take the opportunity to do everything the way you and your wife wanted and be happy. The best revenge against these people are leaving them behind, and when they come asking for help, remind them that they burned that bridge long ago.
Update. Am I the a-hole for losing it and screaming at my girlfriend to get out of my house after what her stepbrother did? Original post. My girlfriend was over at my place 2 days ago. We're both 20. She has a stepbrother who's 23. Before this, I'd only met him a few times, and he seemed like a regular dude. She asked if it was okay for him to come over for a couple of hours, and I said why not. He said he would bring booze and pizza, and since my parents were away visiting relatives for the weekend, I figured we could hang out. I have a little sister who's 15. She stayed in her room the entire time. We were all a bit tipsy, and my girlfriend's stepbrother asked if he could use the bathroom. I pointed him to the one down the hall. My girlfriend and I were preoccupied and didn't realize how much time had passed until we heard raised voices upstairs. We immediately went to check what was going on and found my sister crying. Apparently, instead of using the bathroom, he went upstairs. My sister's door was ajar, and he walked into her room. She was shocked and tried to stay calm, but he wouldn't leave. He started trying to chat her up. When she told him to get out, he closed the door behind him instead, which made her panic. She tried to get past him to open the door and he grabbed her, but she managed to open it. By the time I got upstairs, he had backed off. I was furious. There was a lot of yelling and accusations. We were all drunk except for my sister. After hearing her side, I confronted him. He was stuttering and trying to deflect. I'm pretty sure I threatened violence at some point. My girlfriend tried to be the mediator. She said I needed to calm down and couldn't fly off the handle based solely on my sister's word. But I was there. I saw my sister crying and panicking. I know her, and I know she wouldn't lie about something like this. Why would she? I told her stepbrother to get out of my house. My girlfriend kept saying we could sort this out and have a proper conversation, but I didn't see what there was to discuss. Then she said, "What if your sister is lying right in front of my sister?" I asked her what would make her think that, and she said she's a kid and could be making it up for attention. That's when I lost it. I told her to get the heck out. She's been calling me ever since, but I ignored her. The dust has settled a bit. I went over everything again with my sister, and she promised me it happened exactly as she told me. She said she was scared he was going to essay her. This morning, my girlfriend texted me saying I shouldn't have raised my voice and that I scared her. I thought about apologizing, but she still hasn't said a word about apologizing to my sister or addressing her stepbrother's actions. When I asked about him, her response was that there's no hard proof. He ended up doing nothing, and I should drop it. She claims she'll deal with him. I don't know if I'm the a-hole for how I handled this. Maybe if cooler heads had prevailed, the silent treatment wouldn't have happened, and we could have talked things through. I love her and don't want this to be the end, but I need advice on what to do moving forward. Now for the top comments. I'm sorry, but your girlfriend is just as trashy as her freaking pedo brother. Yep, she's just as gross as that predator for defending him. Not the a-hole. Protect your sister. And maybe have a big long talk with girlfriend. If she doesn't understand, then reevaluate your relationship. I'm definitely not losing sleep over the way I treated a stepbrother. I think I should have done worse and could have done worse. But I just wanted him out of the house. I'm mad because, over these 2 days, all her texts have been about how she felt and how I could have handled this better. She keeps saying she's never seen this side of me, which is all true, but when I messaged her back to ask about her brother, her response was effectively, drop it. I can't believe she's being so callous about this. Hey girlfriend, this isn't about you and your feelings. Your adult, drunk stepbrother went into the bedroom of my underage teenage sister, shut the door behind him, and would not leave. The best thing I could do was make him leave. Rather than being appalled and apologetic, you had the audacity to question whether my sister was being honest, right in front of her, at which point I lost my temper. How could you accuse her of lying while seeing how upset she was? Even if you had doubts, that wasn't even vaguely the time or place. Since this happened, the only person you've cared about is yourself. You want an apology for my being angry and shouting, but not once have you apologized or even asked about my sister. Again, this isn't about you. And I don't think this is going to work out since I want to protect my underage sister, and you want to protect your feelings and your potential predator of a stepbrother. Am I sorry I raised my voice at you? Yes, but if every situation warranted it, it was this one. And no, you've never seen me like this because I've never been in a position where a grown man shut himself in my sister's bedroom and made her afraid she was going to be essayed. Now we're done, and there's nothing left to say. That's what I said to her. She's a shitbag, and I'd bet he's done this crap before. Now for the update. First off, thanks to everyone who commented on my previous post. I tried to read as many comments as I could, and I got some great advice. My girlfriend asked me yesterday if we could talk in person. I agreed, and we met at a public park. She showed up already looking on the verge of tears. User Buttered Crumpet09, your comment was spot on. I basically said it word for word to her. Lol. She let me speak and was silent for a long time, before she said she was sorry for the way she had reacted. She told me she had been drunk, panicked, and hadn't been thinking clearly, trying to stop it from becoming a fight. We discussed her stepbrother. She told me he has a weird streak and acts oddly sometimes. She said he genuinely could have made a mistake and didn't mean any harm. I asked why he went upstairs in the first place and why he shut himself in with my sister after realizing he was in the wrong room. No answer. I asked how she could be so sure he had no perverted intentions. Again, no answer. Some of you suggested that the stepbrother might have a history or even done something to her. I didn't outright say it, but I was implying it. I kept asking, what if he had gone further? What if he's assaulted someone before and you don't know about it? I asked if there had been incidents like this before, and how she could possibly downplay what happened. She didn't respond. By that point, she was too choked up to speak properly, so I don't think she could have answered even if she wanted to. Anyway, I wasn't there to listen to excuses or justifications, and I told her that. She asked me if we were over, and I said the only way we could move forward was if she apologized to my little sister and then cut all contact with her stepbrother. I don't see a scenario where my sister feels comfortable around him again. She told me she didn't want to lose me, but she couldn't do what I asked. So I told her yes, we're done. My parents came back this morning. Like I said, they had been out of town visiting relatives. I hadn't told them about this over the phone. I just said an incident had happened and I would explain when they got back. My sister asked me to speak to them on her behalf, so I told them everything. My dad gave me a lot of grief, rightfully so. He says he wants to speak to my ex's parents about this and let them know what their son did. The police here are about as useful as tits on a bull, and we discussed it, and we're going to file a report, auto de noticia, anyway. I highly doubt it will go anywhere, but at least it will be on record. My sister is doing better. She was really shaken up and asked if she could sleep in my parents' room or mine for a bit. We'll probably arrange a therapy or counseling session for her and let her decide if she wants to continue. I'm going to take her bowling and then get food, just the two of us, so I can also apologize. I feel upset and guilty, honestly. I trusted my ex, and my naivety put my little sister in danger. I've always thought I was a responsible person, and this happening when I was supposed to be in charge is messing me up. I'm mad at myself, not gonna lie, but we move on. My favorite comments to read were the ones telling me what to do to the stepbrother. I don't ever want to see his face again, but in case I do, someone let me know if you have a wood chipper lying around. Thanks again, everybody. Edit. People have asked if I can run a background check or something. I don't think it's legal for a civilian to do that in my country, Portugal, and I don't know if I can request one, but I'll see. Also, to everybody commenting about underage drinking, I was so confused. That's not a problem here, lol. I won't be incriminating myself for anything by filing a report, so don't worry. I was waiting for this update. Good on you, mate. I still think the creep did something to your ex, which is why she kept deflecting and answering vaguely, saying he acts odd sometimes. Even if he did, it's not your responsibility now though. Your poor baby sister. Hopefully she heals quickly from this. Most people seem to think so. I will say my ex's mother has been with her stepdad for nearly 6 years. She never liked discussing her family and had only recently introduced me to all of them. She never gave any indication of a bad relationship between her and her stepdad/brother. I would have never guessed in a million years if abuse or assault was happening. I hope that's not the case, because that would be seriously messed up. Personally, I don't think it did her something such as abuse or assault, but something more insidious, like grooming. That would explain why she is so vague about him. She told me he genuinely could have made a mistake and didn't mean any harm. Ah yes, because going into a 15-year-old's room, stopping them exiting, and closing the door is totally a mistake, and totally harmless actions. Your ex better not complain. Say he made a mistake and didn't mean any harm if/when he does it again to another 15-year-old, and their brother ends up shooting him. That's what is so scary about it. Opie directed him to the downstairs bathroom, and went upstairs anyway, while the ex-girlfriend distracted Opie. Anyone with any manners would wait a bit if someone is in a bathroom to give them time for their business. I shudder to think what would have happened if the stepbrother had managed to get the sister to be quiet or get a hand over her mouth. I have trouble believing the ex-girlfriend wasn't in on it. Last story. Am I the a-hole for saying my brother shouldn't have brought his pregnant girlfriend to my wedding and for refusing to let her be in my wedding photos? I got married last weekend, and I'm still so angry at what my brother did. He took all the attention away from me and my husband. Normally, I don't feel the need to be the center of attention, but this was my freaking wedding day. I feel like it's all anyone was talking about during the wedding, and now it's the main thing anyone remembers from the entire event. It was a destination wedding within the US, so nothing too crazy. We kept a guest list to our families, immediate and extended, as well as our closest friends. My parents paid for our immediate family to arrive about 5 days ahead of time. So it was my parents, my sister, and me initially, with my brother arriving a few days later. We knew my brother was bringing a date, no big deal. He said it was just bringing a girl from school. He didn't even call her his girlfriend officially. My parents showed up at the airport to pick my brother up, and there he was, hand in hand with an obviously pregnant girl that none of us had ever met. My parents were understandably taken aback. My brother greeted them like everything was normal, according to my mom, and my parents didn't know what to say. Then he just said, "Surprise!" My poor mom almost fainted, and my dad allegedly yelled out, "What the heck have you done?" He introduced us to this girl, but didn't clarify if she was his girlfriend or provide much information at all. It was very weird. It was obvious she was uncomfortable. She said she wasn't feeling well and needed to go lay down after the flight. So at dinner, It was just our family as she rested. We awkwardly sat around a table eating, barely saying a word. Finally, my mom asked brother's name. Is that your baby? By then, we all assumed it was, but my mom needed confirmation. The lack of explanation or details from him was just odd. He admitted it's technically not his baby, but he's in love with her and intends to be a father to the baby anyway. The actual father isn't involved and doesn't want to be, and if they get married, he can adopt the baby and be the legal father. She's living with him and none of us knew this either. He's been her main support person throughout the pregnancy. She's 28 weeks, well, 29 now since this was over a week ago. This was worse than what we had all assumed. He is so in love with her that he's willing to take on the responsibility of her child and marry her, yet we'd never even heard of her. He said he'd mentioned her quite a few times. Well, maybe he'd mentioned her name in passing, not to me, maybe to my parents, but never said she was his girlfriend or pregnant. None of us understood. He's 21, about to graduate college, planning to enter law school, and he is an attractive guy. Why would he do this? My parents, especially my mom, were stressed out about it all weekend long, throughout my entire wedding weekend. It was like my wedding became an afterthought. All my parents could talk about was how to make my brother change his mind about this girl. Then when the wedding photographer was taking family pictures, he wanted her in them. That was really the breaking point for me. She isn't family. None of us knew about their relationship, and we'd met her only 2 days prior. She shouldn't be in our official family pictures for my wedding. It's like, forget the bride and groom. Look at this random, heavily pregnant woman hitching herself to my brother. No, I told him no. I refused to let her be in the photos. My mom made me allow her to be in one picture, but said we don't have to buy that one or display it anywhere. It just made my blood boil. Anyway, I don't think he should have brought her. There was no reason to bring her to my wedding, especially without warning. I mean, it's all my side of the family you could talk about, and he was hesitant to even correct them about it not being his baby. He said that's because it was awkward for her to have to explain the full scenario to everyone, so he just let people think what they wanted. Because he wouldn't say anything, everyone was gossiping and wondering about it the whole time. I'm posting this because I'm upset that several friends, and even my own mom, are telling me I'm overreacting and just need to accept it. When I told a group of my coworkers about it after the fact, they weren't at the wedding. They agreed with me and thought what my brother did was absolutely insane and rude. Now for the comments. I think he knew in a wedding setting that attention would be divided. Your wedding was his meat shield. Interesting take, and something I hadn't thought of. He was purposely trying to take attention away from me at my wedding. He just wanted some of the attention taken off of him and his poor decisions? Still selfish. Yeah, your feelings are valid, and you haven't overreacted or anything. Not the a-hole. What he did was an a-hole move, though he probably didn't think it through enough to realize all the implications of his actions. He absolutely shouldn't have dropped that bomb at your wedding, or any wedding. I don't think he did it to be malicious. I don't think he thought about what he was doing to me. He also hasn't apologized though. If after being told something you did was rude and hurtful, at least own up to it. He knew exactly what he was doing. Such an a-hole move on his part. What did he think would happen? He couldn't let you have the attention on your wedding day? Is he that spoiled? Not the a-hole. He's the youngest child. He definitely gets away with more than my sister and I ever could. Anything he does usually gets forgiven.
Am I the a-hole for letting my stepson, his girlfriend, and baby become homeless? My female 46 two stepsons, Eric 27 and Michael 30, live with me and their dad. But our relationship was superficial, since they kept reminding me that their mom was present in their lives and I was the outsider. They then moved away for college and rarely visited. My husband got sick with cancer and struggled for 2 years. Months before he passed away, I discovered that both Michael and Eric were slowly withdrawing money from our bank account. I didn't know they had access to it, but later found out they had access through my husband's financial information. I was livid, because I needed the money for treatment and other expenses since I stopped working. I had a fight with both of them after they admitted they were moving money out of my husband's account before he died, so I won't get anything since the money was theirs. I threatened to sue, but Eric told me to buzz off because it's their money. I changed the old account immediately and moved what's left of that money to a new account. But the week my husband passed away, everything in the house was taken. I'm not exaggerating. They moved everything out and sold it. My husband didn't leave a will, and I was left with just our house since my name on the lease. I haven't seen Eric or Michael for 2 years. Till a few days ago in the morning I heard noise from the outside. I opened the door and saw Eric with his car stuffed with his bags and a young lady in the passenger seat and a baby in the back. I was surprised they asked why he was here and what he was doing. And he said, "I'm moving back in my father's house with my girlfriend and my son." I was stunned, and seeing him unloading his trunk set me off. I shouted, "This is my house now, and he's not allowed to set a foot in it after everything he and his brother did." He attempted to argue that he lost his job and was evicted and had nowhere to go. He also said he and his girlfriend would have lived in their car. But there is a baby that needs a home, and there's his grandfather's house. Plus, everything that happened was planned by Michael, not him. I said they took enough already and I owe them nothing. But he ignored me and kept getting his stuff out of the car. Then he tried to get inside, insisting this was his father's house. That's when I showed him my phone and yelled that I will call the cops on him for trespassing my property. He was shocked by what I said and started begging me to let them stay just for the baby who's now my grandson. But I said no and told him to get in his car and leave. But he stalled and kept complaining about becoming homeless when his father's house is available. His girlfriend involved herself, crying about potentially having their baby taken away from them for not finding proper living arrangements. I said this wasn't my problem, and Eric kept begging, then said I was being cruel and unfair by taking my anger out on an innocent baby with no home to live in. He left but had his dad's side of the family shaming me for letting Eric go homeless and demanding I let him come to his father's house, but I refused. To answer additional questions, 1. Yes, my name is on the lease and now it's officially my house. 2. My in-laws live hours away, and the reason they said they won't take Eric in is that they don't have to when his father's house is available. So they're behind Eric, encouraging him to take back what's his. 3. I don't know anything about their mother, but she's certainly not dead, otherwise I would have found out. Now for the top comments. He left but has his dad's side of the family shaming me for letting Eric go homeless. Those family members could have given him a home as well, but they didn't. You're not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. This guy is a criminal who already robbed you blind. Why on earth would you let him back in your life, much less your house? Honestly, find some family members you actually trust to come stay with you for a while, because this snake is not going to slink away that easily. Not the a-hole. They have already taken enough from you. If his dad's side of the family is so concerned, they can take him in. Protect yourself. Get the best locks you can afford installed. Make sure your windows are secure. Get Ring cameras for any entrance into your home. Install the app in your phone. They will record if anyone is prowling around. Take any proof of ownership that the house is legally yours, plus a few utility bills as proof you live there. Important papers like passport, birth certificate, social security card, pictures, and give them to a trusted friend. Pack a go bag with a couple of changes of clothes, some cash and an extra set of car/house keys, and keep it near the door. Call the police non-emergency line and give them a heads up. Names, descriptions, description of the car. If you have any proof of the family's harassment, show them. Ask if they can do extra patrols of your neighborhood. Alert your neighbors so that they'll call the police if they see any strangers in your street, strange cars, and frequent drive-bys. Tell them that you are not moving out and no one is moving in. If they see anyone loading or unloading their car into your home, they should call 911. It all sounds scary, but you are preparing for the worst possible scenario. You are now a freaking safety Boy Scout. You are prepared. Then live your best life. If things go down, don't panic. You have a plan. Grab your bag and go. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my spouse to forgive my mom and my sister? Plus update. I have been married to my wife for 8 years. The very first day my family met her, my mom turned her back on her and ignored her, and my sister came out asking if she was ever going to see the triplets again. My ex-girlfriend had kids from a previous relationship. I was so damn pissed and embarrassed, but my significant other handled it like a champ and acted like nothing. When we got home, she cried and was really disappointed. She had been looking forward to meeting everyone. I texted both my mom and sister, and chastised them both for their rude behavior, and my mom's reason was because she really liked my ex and her kids. Same for my sister. I took my significant other to my mom's for Thanksgiving and Christmas. and my mom and sister were still standoffish. After we left, my significant other said she didn't want to go over anymore, and I promised her she wouldn't. I asked her to marry me a few months after, and we didn't invite any of my family to our ceremony. Not her choice. She said I was more than welcome to, but I didn't think my family deserved to be there. Then my mom found out and reached out and asked if we would like to have dinner. My significant other encouraged me to go, but she had no desire to. I went, and it ended up being a party at an Italian restaurant with all of my family. They were all asking for my wife, and it was so damn uncomfortable having to make an excuse. But I understood. My wife has stayed away but does help me buy gifts for everyone's birthdays and holidays and goes with me to visit my grandparents. Now, my sister's daughter was diagnosed with cancer this month. My wife has been incredibly helpful and has assisted in any way possible, and I was hoping this would lead to everyone forgetting the past. I asked my wife if she'd consider coming around to my mom's, and she refused. I told her I didn't understand why, that all this drama was 8 years ago and she was doing all this nice stuff for them right now. She said helping out is the right thing to do, but that it doesn't mean she has to be friends with them. I did raise my voice and told her that being stubborn helps no one, and she called me an a-hole for not understanding. So am I? Edit. Changed some details for privacy. Now for the top comments before the little update. You're the a-hole. Your wife is a saint for helping out and being kind when the situation obviously calls for it, but she doesn't have to forgive people who treated her like trash for years and years, and it's extremely unsupportive of you to keep asking her to. You are the biggest a-hole. Did your mother or sister ever bothered apologizing to your wife? Sounds like they continued their awful behavior toward her even after you called them out on it. I was wondering the same thing. I seen a mention of my mom and sister apologized and seemed sincere. They also try to reach out and include my wife. But I have sent messages / cards / gifts to her to re-apologize, but my wife still says no. Seems like mom and sister only told Opie a, yeah sure, we're sorry about that. Let her know we are sorry. That isn't an apology to Opie's wife. Yes, you are an a-hole. You promised her she didn't have to go back. So why are you trying to make her now? Man, all of y'all are really making me see things differently. I admit now I'm being selfish. With my niece being sick and my wife helping out, I thought maybe we could all just get along. I see now I messed up. Now for the little update. Thank you all for opening my eyes. I've never felt so attacked, but I'm grateful for it all. I have totally changed my way of thinking. My wife is amazing. The last thing I want is to take her around people who don't have her best interests at heart. Unfortunately, it took advice from strangers for me to see. Nonetheless, I am thankful. I can't reply to everyone. I have a lot of making up to do. My wife has read so many comments and would like you all to know she's very thankful to see so much support. She says she's always felt guilty about staying away, but feels better about her decision now. At the end of the day, my wife deserves peace, and I will not force her to do anything she doesn't like. She's pretty gleeful right now. Lol. Thank you all. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my son the truth about his mom? Their mom, 44 female and I, 44 male, broke up 9 years ago because I caught her cheating with my friend in our own home with our 4-month-old son, sleeping in the next room. The breakup was hard, especially for the kids, but as parents we did everything possible so that they can be happy. And we decided that we would never tell them the reason we broke up until they are adults. For them, we only broke up because it was the best. We always told them that we functioned better separately, and that way we could all be happy. But I got tired. I met someone a few years after our breakup, and now we are married and have a 21-month-old girl, and she's pregnant with our second. But my 2 oldest kids, 19 male, 18 male, refuse to meet their sister. They don't even speak to my wife, 27 female, and never wanted to tell me why. They just hate her. And at first, when we started dating, it was kind of understandable. My wife is younger, and she was the first person I dated after breaking up with her mother. So I decided to give them a few months so they could adjust to the new situation. But those months turned into years, and they never really tried to get to know my wife. And she always said that she was okay with that, so I decided to let it go. But their attitude just got worse. And when our daughter was born, they didn't want to meet her. And I'm not gonna lie, that pissed me off because they were treating her like a stranger, just because they don't like her mom. So for a while I stopped texting them since I was always the one who contacted them. And I had no interest in contacting them again. But the other day my wife was crying, and I asked her what was going on. and she showed me some texts they sent her. She tried to contact them a few weeks ago so we could fix our relationship, and they just insulted her. They called her a cheap woman and told her that they will never meet that bastard, our daughter, because they hate our daughter as much as they hate my wife. I read the whole thing and was so mad that I called one of them, and we had a fight over those texts. I decided that he hates my wife because his mom told him I cheated on her with my wife, which is a lie because I didn't even know her at the time. So I got mad and told him that he was wrong, and that the cheater was his mother, and that if he didn't believe me, that I could show them the papers that I still have from the paternity test that we had to do, because she didn't even know who was the real father of our 9-year-old son, because she cheated for years. He was speechless and just hung up the call. And now I feel like maybe I went too far because I shouldn't have told him that. But I was mad because I love my daughter and my wife, and I don't want anyone to hurt them. She's the sweetest and kindest person I ever met in my life, and seeing her sad or crying breaks my heart, and that's why I reacted that way. Am I the a-hole for telling him that? Oh, hell no. Not the a-hole 1,000 times over. Your ex crossed a line that should never be crossed, and only to screw you over for no other reason than out of pure spite and or jealousy. You did the right thing to combat lies with the truth. Eventually the truth will win out, but it'll take time. Yeah, lying about the innocent party cheating completely nullifies the proverbial non-disclosure agreement about the guilty parties cheating. Talk about literally asking for it. Not the a-hole. This is why no plan should include keeping secrets from kids. They don't work. You and your wife have suffered their unjust wrath long enough. Time for their mom to have her fair share. Not the a-hole. You were just setting the story straight. Your ex, on the other hand, major a-hole for lying to them to make you look bad and ruining your relationship with your kids. Agreed. Ex is the a-hole here. I hope his ex lied to his children to make him look bad. His sons are adults now, and they deserve to be told the truth. Justified. Your ex-wife lied to your children, and it had serious negative consequences for your new family, so they needed to know the truth. Passing on the information in a calmer way would have been better, of course. Still not the a-hole. Last story. Am I the a-hole for wanting my wife's son to leave the house after he turns 18? My wife and I have been married for 5 years, and she has a 17-year-old son from a previous relationship. The father left her and her son about a decade ago, and has not been present in their lives ever since. I know it was a traumatic experience for both of them, and they have a very tight bond as a result. My wife is on permanent disability and doesn't work, so I am the sole breadwinner in the household. I've always tried to be a very present figure in my stepson's life, but I also understand that I am not his father. For the past 3 years or so, her son has been having a lot of behavioral issues. When it started, my wife and I thought it was typical teenager acting out type stuff. But when his behavior continued over the course of months and into a year, we knew we had to take more action. We attended family therapy, got him individual therapy and counseling, worked with his school counselor, tried getting him involved in extracurricular activities, etc. We put a lot of time, effort, and money into as many ideas as we could think of, hoping that something would click. But nothing has worked. His grades in school are near failing, and he is at risk of not graduating next year. He will refuse to leave his room for days at a time. He has zero respect for me as a person, let alone a parent figure. He fights us on attending therapy and counseling sessions, and will not participate when we get him there. I am at my wit's end, and I am also starting to feel the hurts financially because my insurance doesn't cover all of the therapy and counseling. My wife's disability checks take some of the edge off, but I'm hemorrhaging money at this point and failing behind on bills. My stepson turns 18 in a couple months, and I am at a point where I want to stop paying for his therapy and counseling. I am also at a point where I no longer want him in my house at the end of next school year. After a recent outburst from him, I broke down to my wife and told her all of this. She wasn't aware of the financial problems because I don't want her to feel that her son is a burden on us. But as hard as it is to say it, he kind of is. Out of anger and frustration, I told my wife my feelings about wanting him to leave our house, and she flipped out on me. She accused me of giving up on him and basically being okay with him becoming homeless. She said she would never forgive me if I abandoned him like his father did, and that I was an a-hole for even thinking something like that, let alone telling her. It's been a huge rift between us since then, and it's put a huge damper on the holidays. A part of me wants to get this all out in the open since I think my stepson deserves to know what kind of strain this is putting on all of us. But my wife insists on being protective of him. I feel like no matter what, I am going to be the bad guy. But I also feel like I have done all that I can do. Am I the a-hole for wanting to quit supporting my stepson? Not the a-hole. You are doing everything you can to help your stepson. Unfortunately, you cannot help someone who doesn't want to be helped. While he is a minor and you have the authority to do so, have you considered inpatient help? I would suggest being honest with him. His behavior is unacceptable, and he either changes or leaves. You will pay for his therapy as long as he tries to help himself get better. This may cost you your marriage, but if you do not draw this line, you will be having the same conversation in 10 years. While he is a minor and you have the authority to do so, have you considered inpatient help? My wife outright refuses to even consider this. His therapist recommended it a little over a year ago, but my wife wouldn't even think of it. She then forced us to find a new therapist. That is denial, and all it's doing is enabling him. The shame of it is, he probably feels the most lost in all of this.
Am I the a-hole because I didn't tell my friends with benefits that friend-zoned me that I was getting married? I know the title is stupid, but it's accurate. I had a friends with benefits, Lisa. I caught feelings and asked her if we could be more. She said that I was a nice guy and she enjoyed sex, but she couldn't really imagine a relationship with me because I was a man. She said we should just go back to being friends. So we did. She dated a bunch of other guys and I met a few women I liked. We stayed friends and I never pushed for more. Not even going back to how it was. I started dating my fiancée Laura a few years ago when she became friends with Lisa. She knows about our past relationship and she is okay with it as long as I respect her boundaries, which I always have and will. We got engaged last weekend. No wedding plans yet, but she's the one. Lisa called me yesterday and asked me if I got engaged. I told her yes. She asked me why I would do that, since she was waiting for me to break up with Laura so we could try again, now that I have proven I can be in a relationship. I told her that we couldn't be friends anymore, and immediately told Laura what happened. She told me I shouldn't, not couldn't, hang around with Lisa anymore. I told her that I already said we couldn't be friends. A few of our friends from college have told me I'm a prick for cutting Lisa out, since I knew she always had a thing for me. I said that nobody informed me that I was her backup plan. I wouldn't have been interested if I had known. I am no one's second choice. Lisa did ask me to have a coffee with her to talk. I went after I told Laura what I was up to. Lisa said that I was an a-hole for not telling her that I was serious about Laura and that I was planning on getting engaged. She was waiting for me to tell her so she could tell me that she was ready for me now. What? She said she didn't realize how serious we were, since Laura and I don't live together yet. We both live with our parents to save money for life. My folks are semi-retired and spend 9 months of the year away on vacations. Laura's parents are happy to have her there to help with her younger siblings. I know I made a right decision cutting her off, but I'm wondering how the heck I was supposed to know. I'll be honest, if Lisa had told me the first year of my relationship with Laura that she was ready, I might have considered it. Laura and I were dating but not serious. How is it my fault if she never informed me? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She tried to keep you as an insurance future. Tough luck for her. You moved on. Congratulations on your engagement. Thank you. Yeah, it's just weird. How was I supposed to know she had a plan if she didn't share it? You had no chance. She's just angry and tries to guilt you. OP, remember it this way. You never had a real shot. Don't try and rewind that tape in your brain. You asked her to be in a relationship. She declined. You found a lovely girl who wants you as her number one. Full stop. Not a-hole. It's not. Also, she was lying. Waiting for me to break up with Laura so we could try again now that I have proven I can be in a relationship? Come on, man. Her words, not mine. You're suddenly more attractive now that another woman wants you, and you'll be off the market for good. She's angry she overlooked you, and now you're marrying someone else. Yes, it's called pre-selection. Friend with benefits didn't want OP for anything serious until another woman got with him. Friend with benefits suddenly saw OP as a viable choice because Laura saw he was a viable choice. It's the same reason why some people will go after a married person. If that person is happy with them, then I'll be happy with them. It's messed up, but it's definitely a thing. I would cut the people off telling you you're a prick. She had her chance. She didn't take it. She doesn't get to say you're in some trial, and she's subserving you with your partner to see if you're a good boyfriend. Honestly, she sounds insane. Don't just block her. Change your number. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother he has himself to blame for his wife's cheating? My older brother, 29 male, has always had it easy and got way too comfortable in his situation. He was always the favorite compared to myself, 25 female, and my sister, 32 female. The handsome kid, popular in high school and with girls, that kind of thing. It seems during college he actually found a long-term girlfriend, and when he finished up school he married her. It's been 6 years since they married, and he hasn't done anything. His wife has always been a driven, successful woman. How he got her to marry him, I will never know. Since they married, he has not worked. They don't have kids. He barely does anything around the house, which he outright admits. He has gained a considerable amount of weight, developed a crippling porn addiction. He's way too open to admitting it. It's awkward. And spends his days with that or gaming. My brother got too used to gliding through life because he was always the pretty and fun guy. Now that he had his dream girl who provided for the house and brought in a ton of money without him having to lift a finger, he stopped trying to contribute at all. His wife works and does all the chores. They're roommates. I've always liked her and we hang out quite a bit. About 4 years ago, she started doing anything she could to fix the relationship, since of course my brother manipulated her into believing it was her fault. She tried to set up therapy appointments, go to gym more, encouraging him to go to the gym, tried intimacy more often, cut back hours to spend more time with him, bought him expensive things. She spent years trying everything she could to fix things, believing it was her fault. He didn't try a single thing, outright rejected therapy, mocked her weight even though she practically has a supermodel figure, insisted his weight was fine, refused to lift a finger for the house, and kept blaming her for the way things were, saying if she tried more, he would be better. 3 years later, she was still coming home to him watching porn in a dirty house while she cooked and cleaned. 3 years of her working herself to the bone, only to come home to an emotionally abusive husband who beat her down, while she tried everything to fix her marriage. Last year, she decided she wanted a divorce. My brother became hostile and promised to drag it out and take as much as he could, as apparently they have a prenup that he somehow got her to agree to. I know very little about divorce laws, especially in our state, except for that we don't live in an at-fault state. But according to her, if she tried to go forward with it and he got petty, he could take a lot from her. Everything they have is because of her, so she decided against divorce. She was trapped with him and accepted it, against mine and others' objections. I guess by then she was over his BS. She slowly spent more time away from home and claimed she was working extra hours. She didn't bother him about therapy or his weight. She actually pretty much stopped interacting with him. She didn't cook anymore. She didn't clean anymore. It didn't take long for her to admit to me she was spending quite a bit of time with other guys and girls. She never brought any home, but was staying out late quite a bit. My brother didn't notice, and I didn't care. For years, she was a beaten-down shell trying to appease someone who didn't respect her. Now she was lively, happy, outgoing, and everything she used to be. I'm not happy about her feeling stuck with my brother or the concept of cheating in general, but apparently it works for her. It didn't take long for him to find out. Apparently, there were a lot of people she was meeting. He was livid, demanded she stop, and threatened divorce. She didn't care. She told him he knew where the door was. It was her home solely, and she was allowing him to stay out of obligation. She told him she would gladly stop if he agreed to a fair divorce without him fighting it, and that she was showing decency as a provider and a wife by not bringing her partners into their home. The thing is, even if my brother got his way in a divorce, he knew that money would not last at all, and without any work experience and the shape he was currently in, he would be screwed. He was an overweight slacker who barely had anything to his name. Prenup or not, now he was stuck. And so that's how it's been for nearly a year. She barely comes home anymore, and the list of affair partners has only gotten longer. My brother has tried going to the gym more, picking up a part-time job, cooking, but it's too late. He had years to fix this, and only chose to change when his back was against the wall. He's been begging me to make her stop, and to give their marriage a shot. I told him he is a moron who only has himself to blame. If you beat down a patient and caring person long enough, they will absolutely mess you up. He needs to just accept the divorce in her favor and learn from this. He didn't like my answer at all and hasn't talked to me for a couple weeks. Not a-hole. People can't treat someone like that and expect no repercussions. Normally, I say get divorced first, but he was actively obstructing divorce. Not a-hole, and so is your sister-in-law. She is actually smart in getting him to become active this way, making him less dependent on her money. It takes a mountain for me to agree that cheating was acceptable morally, but this is it exactly. Once he blocked the divorce and manipulated her, screw it, all bets were off. At this point, it kind of feels like it's only cheating in a technical sense. Any pretense of an actual relationship ended when she asked for a divorce and he took the hostile option. Be a real husband. No. Fine, at least be an ex-husband. No. Okay then, cuckold it is. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex that she chose our kids over our relationship and it's not my problem that she's lonely now they are grown up? My ex and I had our first child when we were 26. We met at a bar celebrating our 21st birthday. We literally are the exact same age. She changed. Being a mom became her only identity. Our second child when we were 28 compounded it. She was a mom, not a wife. And not even herself. Not the woman I met, fell in love with and married. All she wanted to do was kid stuff. Kid movies, kid TV, kid books, everything. If I wanted to drop the kids off and take her to the farmer's market, she would say no, that the kids loved the farmer's market. We had to take them. They were 3 and 1. They did not love the farmer's market. If anything, the older one loved the mini donuts. And she couldn't stand to hear them cry, so she let them sleep with us constantly. When I put my foot down, she would start crying about how mean I was. When the kids finally outgrew that, she would let them come in our room without knocking. So sex was interesting. Having a cold little hand grab my calf made for at least one very hard thrust. I put a lock on the bedroom door. She took it off. We went for counseling. She went for counseling. Nothing ever changed. She said it would be different when the kids were older. It never changed. I left when the kids were 9 and 11. I had planned and paid for a trip for our 15th anniversary. We were going to Thailand like we always planned when we were younger. She changed the plans. She canceled with her parents watching the kids. We went as a family to Disney World. We had been the year before, and the kids loved it so much. I lasted another 6 months. Then I left. I pay child support. I pay spousal support. I'm there for the kids all the time. I enjoy my custody time. I go to their extracurriculars on the days I don't have them. I have rooms for them in my house. I met someone new a year later. We got married a year after that. We had our first child 2 years after that. She is an excellent stepmom, and the kids were polite and friendly with her. They were grown up and they had a mom, so she is more of a trusted adult. The kids are 16 and 14 now, and they're sick of mom's attention. They're spending more and more of their time at my house. I love having them over. And here they understand what privacy and personal space mean. My ex is lonely. She devoted her life to her kids, and she expected them to be around her forever, I guess. She has dated other men, but she refuses to prioritize them in any way over the kids. An example, one guy lasted 6 months. He wanted to take her away for the weekend. She couldn't because the younger one had a soccer game. It was my weekend. The guy had checked with me that I would be attending and not just leaving the kid at the field. I was. She refused to go and showed up at the game without him. That was the last I saw him. She is getting angry and bitter that I left her alone to go start a new family with my child bride. My wife was 30 when I met her and I was 38. I wasn't exactly robbing the cradle. I told her that she wanted that in life. That I gave her every opportunity to be my partner and she said she would rather be a mom. She said that wasn't true, so I asked her to prove me wrong. To tell me when she put our relationship above the slightest inconvenience to our kids. She couldn't do it. I reminded her that she passed up a weekend with her boyfriend to go to a soccer game. She said it was important. I said that adult relationships are also important. My wife thinks that I was harsh but fair. Our child sleeps through the nights in her nursery though. Now for the top comments. Not a-hole. As a child of a woman like your ex, I got to see firsthand what her decisions to never ever leave my side to do anything with my dad alone did to their marriage. It was horrible and hurt him so deeply. It was also incredibly suffocating for me, and I resented the heck out of being the whole beginning and the end of her world. It's great that your kids are able to see and appreciate the difference in lifestyles and choosing to spend more time with you. She's going to be in for a world of serious hurt if she doesn't learn and refuses to back off of them once they are ready to fly the nest. Not a-hole. I knew a person who literally fell apart when her children started school. She would ask to stay in their classroom and sit at the back, and it was a total mental breakdown she had. She would be the one wailing when the kids had to go into school each morning. In the end, after her husband had a meeting with them, the school eventually let her volunteer so she would be near, but they quickly insisted she wasn't allowed in their class. Yet she was in the school, and would monitor breaks and lunch to be there watching them. It wasn't healthy at all for her or the kids. Yet it was just accepted, and everywhere she went, excuses and exceptions were made for her, as she was known not to cope without the kids. When they were in secondary, she did get a job, but I think that as her husband and doctors pushed her to do something to distract and occupy her time when they were away from her. However, she would come into work late as she was just checking on the kids or would leave partway through her shift to take them a treat for lunch. It was ridiculous that her employer didn't sack her. It was the kids I felt sorry for, 2 boys. Even in older teenage years, it was like they'd been conditioned to see her as fragile, and that they just had to make allowances for her and put up with her forcing herself in every area of their lives. Yet you could see them fed up and sick of it at times, but knew their dad and other family would go mad if they try to have some space. Rather than upset the mom, the family would rather upset the boys. Yet she thought she was all they wanted and needed, so she didn't admit to herself when she made them uncomfortable or unhappy with her being overbearing. I honestly wondered what would happen when she discovers they are dating. She'd take it as an attack on her, I think. She'd take it as them saying she wasn't enough for them. I don't know, maybe she wouldn't like the girl, but she was so possessive and so they are my boys, my everything, my life that I doubt it. I always felt sorry for the boys and wouldn't be surprised if she actually tried to move in with them if they move out. That she would probably help them get their belongings in and appear with a bag of her own at her pillow and act devastated if they try to say no. I am certain any girlfriend would be measured off by her, and possibly by the boys. I wondered whether the boys thought all girls would wait on them hand and foot and put their wants above the girlfriend/boyfriend's needs in life, and if they thought that was normal and natural. It's clear any woman that entered that family would be basically dating the mom as well. That is, if she gets allowed that far by the mom at all. I also wondered about her husband, who suddenly became pushed to the corner in their home and lives as soon as she had their first. He never seemed to mind, and pushed for the boys to just accept it to make their mom happy. I do know there was a fight as the boys got older, to get them to sleep in their own beds and rooms by the husband. He was sick of being pushed out and being uncomfortable, and had ranted to some friends about it. But it was all weird and messed up to me. I'm just glad in OP's case, the kids had a place to escape to, a haven from her constantly overbearing, a place they can get to discover who they are without her. I am so glad their dad didn't push them into feeling they were wronging her for wanting space. Yes, she is lonely, but if she doesn't ease up on them, she will force them away from her completely. Only she is to blame for the choices she's made, and for the consequences from them.